Do dietary fats make us fat? That's the question I'm going to be answering today. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah Peternell. I'm the owner of Family Nutrition Services. Welcome to my office. I'm also the creator of an online program. It's a 30-day self-paced program for people with Hashimoto's. You can check that out in the pinned comments below. The program is called Nourished and Renewed. It's really about living your best life naturally with Hashimoto's. Check it out. If you have Hashimoto's, you probably want to stick around for this video and this answer today about what actually makes us fat. I know that weight loss is a big concern for many of my clients. And you know what? At times it has been for me too. Obviously, because I am a family nutritionist, board certified in holistic nutrition, and an expert in Hashimoto's, I spend a lot of time researching these things for myself and for my clients, and just because it's my passion and it's what I do. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about, what is it actually that makes us gain weight? Not just like, regular weight, but fat. I spend time in my office doing hundreds, if not thousands over the years of something called bioimpedance analysis testing. You can watch that video. It's pretty cool when you learn about body composition and you realize what it is that actually makes people gain fat. As I said, I've studied this for years and years, and really everything I kind of came to learn about body composition was during a time when I worked in a gym. It was basically a fitness studio. And I worked with people who had all kinds of health goals, but one of their top goals was getting in shape. I think a lot of people have this as a common goal. You want to live your best life and feel your best, so exercise is typically a part of that formula. For people with Hashimoto's, it can be a little bit harder to lose body fat. There are a couple things you need to know when it comes to the composition of your body, especially if you have an autoimmune thyroid condition. So the question that I posed at the beginning is, if we eat dietary fats, does it make us fat? The answer is no, and this is good news. So for years and years and years, the diet dictocrats, as Sally Fallon from the Weston A. Price Foundation likes to call them, the diet dictocrats being kind of the bosses of, federally mandated nutrition. They told us that if you eat things like bacon and butter and whole milk products and pastured animal meats, that you would get fat and that this would be bad for your body and bad for your heart. But luckily, we know that that's not true anymore. We know that saturated fats are an important part of your total health and an important part of the fats that are needed in your body for your brain, for your mood, for the production of healthy hormones. And the list goes on and on. But I'm not just going to focus on fat today. I wanted to let you know that fats do not make you fat. And I will give you a disclaimer that not every single person has truth in that, because there are genetic and biochemical individualities from person to person. Generally speaking, though, if you're a healthy person and you eat moderate fat intake, this is not what's making you fat. So I just wanted to say that, okay? The thing is what makes us gain fat in our bodies is kind of twofold. The first thing is that in the standard American diet, meaning what do we eat here in the United States? A lot of junk food, a lot of fast food, a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar, a lot of refined grains, a lot of refined oils, a lot of alcohol, and a lot of additives, preservatives, chemicals, and franken foods, or real, basically non-food items that we eat. Yuck. So the standard American diet is basically loaded with two common things: sugar and chemical toxins that our body does not recognize. Let's start with sugar and how sugar actually makes your body fat. So think about your diet, or maybe your old diet. If you've been here for a while and you've been watching my videos and you've started to change the way you eat, good for you. Let's just think about what maybe the standard American diet looks like. You wake up, you have a donut and a cup of coffee. Snack time comes around and you're feeling kind of hungry, so you have a handful of M&Ms. Maybe with lunch, you'll have a Coke and a sandwich on some white bread and some refined potato chips and a cookie. The mid-afternoon comes around and you're still kind of feeling like you need a snack. So maybe you have like a granola bar or something. Maybe it's one of those healthy granola bars that has high fructose corn syrup and a bunch of additives in it as well. Then dinner time comes, and on the standard American diet, this could be restaurant food, it could be fast food, it could be a frozen meal from the freezer, or it could just be something that's not properly balanced with enough fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and the healthy quality proteins and fats from animal products. It might be something like a big bowl of spaghetti with refined white flour pasta. And then the night is over, so you finish it off with a big bowl of ice cream. If you think about all the opportunities multiple times per day that this particular diet that I'm describing had for including a sugary food, well, that's a lot of sugar. And if you're living a standard American, mostly sedentary lifestyle, not getting out and walking, you're not taking the stairs, you're not exercising for about 30 minutes every single day, most of that sugar or glucose that was consumed from the diet didn't really have a purpose. It didn't really need to provide fuel for the body. So it's traveling through the bloodstream after it's consumed, right? It has to go somewhere. It's looking for sugar receptor sites on the cells to create energy within the mitochondria within each and every one of your trillions of cells. All right, so here you have your cell, and the cellular receptor sites are going to pick up the needed glucose, comes into the cell, provides energy where it's needed. Oh my goodness, if there's an excess of sugar from the meal or from the day in total, or excess sugar from a lifestyle of eating too much sugar, well, this is where a normal cleanup process of insulin to the rescue starts to become desensitized. So for every meal that we consume, sugar that isn't used by the cell gets mopped up by insulin. We are so fortunate to have our pancreas to support our total body health. There is a feedback loop. I'm not going to go into too much of the science in this video. I want to keep it simple so you guys can really understand where I'm coming from with this information, which is that when there's too much sugar in the bloodstream that's not being used by the cell, this feedback loop over to the pancreas basically says, hey, send some insulin over to clean up and mop up and get rid of this extra sugar that the body doesn't need. Well, over time, he's kind of like a cranky uncle, right? Your pancreas is like, stop sending me to clean up your messes all the time. This is too much sugar and I don't know what to do with it and I'm running out of space. So the first thing that happens in sugar turning into fat is that we actually desensitize our pancreas and we desensitize the role of insulin in blood sugar metabolism and blood sugar regulation. So if insulin starts to drop and it's no longer doing what it needs to do, or it's just becoming irregular in its use for the body, well, then you have excess sugar that's being stored basically in the bloodstream, and your body knows that that's not healthy and that's not safe for you. So enter fat cells. Well, they're a perfect storage place, right? So your body can quickly make more fat cells and it can grow fat cells even bigger to take in sugar that doesn't have a place to go. So the insulin problem in this scenario basically relies on a backup system of fat cells to retain and store the sugar until it's potentially needed at a later time. Well, as I said, if you're living a mostly sedentary standard American lifestyle, that day may never come. For many Americans who don't start an exercise routine or who continue to, be mainly inactive, the sugar that's consumed in the diet just keeps going in and in and in and in to making more and bigger fat cells in the body. We do have a real problem in this country with overweight, overfat, and obese individuals. Mainly it is these two dietary reasons. Number one, there's too much sugar in the diet. And number two, people aren't using the sugar to burn it off as fuel for like running a mile or walking the dog for 10 blocks or taking, 4 flights of stairs instead of the elevator, or going to a HIIT class, taking a spin class, going to yoga, swimming, hiking, biking. There are a million different things that we can do to utilize sugar as fuel. Okay, so that's the first thing that happens, right? Is that our diet with too much sugar and a sedentary lifestyle means that insulin becomes desensitized and sugar is going to go into the fat cells. The second thing that happens is that these toxins I talked about in the standard American diet, which are plentiful in terms of all of the different preservatives, additives, chemicals, flavorings, um, things, that are going to help to give it that shelf life, or that stable ability to sit on the grocer's shelf and on your pantry shelf for a really long time. These kind of Franken foods, right? Maybe like some kind of a bright turquoise Hostess baked good or something, right? That's not only full of sugar but also full of chemicals. Your body is super smart and knows, what the heck is this stuff? I actually don't have any use for these chemicals, and I can only process so much. Your liver, your enterohepatic system, which is the main vein that helps to kind of process and remove waste from the body via the colon, it has kind of a priority order, right? So if you had a glass of wine, you've had, some processed foods, you stood downwind at the gas station and you were breathing in gasoline fumes, you just had your house painted, maybe you're using toxic chemicals in your skincare products. This accumulation of toxins in our world and in our bodies means that the liver and our detox pathways need to be working kind of overtime, and they need to be working really hard for us. So the reality is that some of the chemicals, especially some of the more persistent ones that your body can't, really use a lot of resources to get rid of quickly, are also going to have to be stored. Here's where the Hashimoto's comes into place. Your thyroid is a major toxin magnet. I know, right? Why? Well, for one thing, it's that, there's the relationship between the thyroid and our needs for iodine in the body. You can watch that video all about the thyroid and iodine. But iodine is something that is used by the body to help protect against certain types of very, very powerful and dangerous chemicals, for example, radioactive waste. The thyroid, just the nature of it, it is very delicate, porous, kind of spongy tissue. And so toxins can be attracted to this area of the body. And again, a lot of it has to do with the ways in which the thyroid uses certain nutrients, including iodine, to help to protect the rest of the body against toxic exposure. That's another video for another day. But basically, toxins that can't be removed from the body are going to be stored in one of two places. They're going to maybe be attracted to and stored on or near the thyroid, or on or near thyroid receptor sites on every single cell in the body. Or enter fat cells again. Fat cells are a wonderful buffer against toxins. Not only do they mop up extra sugar that's not consumed, not eradicated by the insulin, but fat cells are a great place to put extra toxins that the body can't get to. So think of your fat as basically this sweet, gunky mixture of all kinds of gross, toxic stuff. And so if you are over fat, or you have a dysregulated body composition for any number of reasons, but especially if it's because the thyroid has some damage, either due to autoimmunity, perhaps due to other illnesses and things like that, or just because of the toxic load, your fat cells are going to basically be overwhelmed. So when we're talking about what makes us fat, it isn't dietary fat. It's often the things that are in our diet, however, like too much sugar and refined grains and all of the chemicals that are in our food supply. So I do a lot of videos here about detox, and I think you might be interested in going back and watching some of those videos to learn what are the daily detox principles that you can start to incorporate right away, so you can reduce your overall toxic load and thereby start to get rid of some fat. So thank you for watching today's video. I hope this helps explain for you why what we eat and how we utilize certain things in our body, and the priority order of how our body has to get rid of things, whether it's through insulin or detoxification, ultimately in the long run may lead to these types of things accumulating in our bodies as fat. Check out some of my other videos. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And also you can turn on your notifications bell, so every Tuesday and Friday you get the notification that I have a new video. Talk to you soon. I'll be back with more information. Bye.